16 degrees in Dallas, Texas. That is how cold it's going to be tomorrow morning in a city that rarely sees temperatures like this. Is your city about to face the most dangerous cold snap in 15 years? Right now, over 800,000 Americans are sitting in freezing homes with no electricity, and the Arctic blast coming this weekend could make this crisis even worse. Stay with me for the next 30 seconds because I'm showing you exactly when this next wave of dangerous cold arrives in your specific location. Drop your city name in the comments right now, and I'll give you a personalized forecast in tomorrow's video. I mean it, type your city below. I'm personally reading every comment and responding to as many as I can. All right, here's what's about to happen. Birmingham, Alabama. You're looking at Saturday night for the next major temperature drop. Louisville, Kentucky. Friday evening is when things get critical. Charlotte, North Carolina. You could see snow Saturday afternoon into Sunday morning. Indianapolis. Sunday morning drops into the single digits. And Miami, yes, even you. Sunday morning could bring temperatures dangerously close to freezing for your tropical plants and vulnerable populations. Now, here's what nobody is talking about yet. We just survived one of the largest winter storms in American history. Over 19,000 flights canceled, 2,300 miles wide, more than 230 million people under winter weather alerts simultaneously. That's never happened before. 21 confirmed deaths. But here's the crazy part. The atmospheric pattern that created this monster hasn't changed. In fact, the models are suggesting we might see an even more intense system in exactly 5 days. Let me break down what's happening with these temperatures right now because honestly, this is the part that has me most concerned. Jackson, Tennessee, 10 degrees tomorrow morning. Oxford, Mississippi, 13 degrees. Greenwood, Mississippi, 16 degrees. These are cities where infrastructure simply isn't built for this kind of cold. When you get temperatures like this in the deep south, everything breaks down. Water systems fail, power grids collapse, and people don't own the clothing they need to survive outside for any length of time. But wait until you see what's happening up north. Boston is sitting under nearly 2 feet of snow right now. Pennsylvania got absolutely buried. Some locations picked up over 20 inches. The entire state is paralyzed. And tomorrow morning, Philadelphia is looking at 23 degrees. Pittsburgh, 14 degrees. Scranton, 16 degrees. That snow isn't going anywhere because we're not getting warm enough to melt it. Not tomorrow. Not this week. Maybe not for 2 weeks. And once again, I want to stress how serious this is for people without power. Nashville lost nearly half its entire electrical grid. Half, because of 3/4 of an inch of ice. That doesn't sound like much, but ice is incredibly heavy. When it accumulates on power lines, they snap. When it accumulates on trees, branches fall and take more lines down with them. And now these people are facing 5-degree temperatures tomorrow morning with no heat. That's a life-threatening situation. Stick with me because at minute 5, I'm showing you the exact cities that could see the heaviest snowfall from this next storm system. And trust me, some of these locations are going to shock you. All right, let's talk about Mississippi for a second because you guys got destroyed by ice. This was your worst ice storm since 1994. Tupelo, 13 degrees tomorrow. Meridian, 15 degrees. Hattiesburg, 21 degrees. Biloxi, on the coast, 28 degrees. Gulfport, 29 degrees. And I know you're tired of hearing about cold. I know you want to hear that it's going to warm up soon. But unfortunately, I can't tell you that because the pattern doesn't support it. Louisiana, you're in a similar situation. Shreveport, 16 degrees tomorrow morning. That's dangerous cold for Shreveport. Baton Rouge, 22 degrees. Lafayette, 24 degrees. Monroe, 14 degrees. New Orleans, 24 degrees. And here's the thing about New Orleans. You guys are so close to the Gulf of Mexico, you should be getting moderated by that water. But this Arctic air is so strong, so deep, that even the Gulf isn't helping much. Now here's where things get interesting. Texas, you've been dealing with this for days now. And you remember what happened a few years ago when Texas got hit with extreme cold, the power grid failed, people died. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but Houston, you're looking at 27 degrees tomorrow morning. San Antonio, 28 degrees. Austin, 26 degrees. Corpus Christi, 34 degrees. And Dallas-Fort Worth, 16 degrees. That's brutal. Wait, let me back up for a second. I need to clarify something about this next storm system because there's a lot of confusion on social media right now. People are sharing maps showing huge snow totals. Some are saying this is going to be worse than what we just had. Others are saying it's going to miss completely. Here's the truth. We don't know exactly where this storm is going to track yet. The European model and the American GFS model are showing two completely different scenarios, and that tells me we're still in that window where things could shift dramatically. In just 2 minutes, I'm revealing what these two major models are showing and why the difference between them could mean the difference between 6 inches of snow or no snow at all for millions of people. Arkansas, you just broke an incredible record in Little Rock. 14.1 inches of snow. That record had stood since 1899. Since 1899. Think about that. And tomorrow morning, you're waking up to 17 degrees in Little Rock. Fayetteville, up in the northwest, 10 degrees. Fort Smith, 14 degrees. Texarkana, 16 degrees. Pine Bluff, 18 degrees. Hot Springs, 17 degrees. And unfortunately for you guys in Arkansas, this next storm system could bring you more snow this weekend. Let me jump to Tennessee because this is honestly one of the hardest hit states. Memphis, 14 degrees tomorrow. Nashville, 5 degrees. 5. Knoxville, 11 degrees. Chattanooga, 13 degrees. Johnson City, 12 degrees. Murfreesboro, 6 degrees. Franklin, 6 degrees. And Nashville, I know half your city is without power. I know people are struggling. If you have a fireplace, use it safely. If you have a generator, make sure it's outside. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills people every single winter storm. Please be careful. Kentucky is right there with you. Lexington, 5 degrees tomorrow. Louisville, 7 degrees. Bowling Green, 8 degrees. Owensboro, 9 degrees. Covington, 6 degrees. Paducah, 10 degrees. And here's your concern. It's not just the cold, it's how long the cold lasts. We might not see temperatures above freezing in Louisville for the next week. That's not normal, even for Kentucky. Keep watching because the most important part is coming up. This next storm system could impact over 50 million people. All right, let me get into the Carolinas because this is the region that really needs to pay attention to what's developing for this weekend. Charlotte, North Carolina, tomorrow morning, 19 degrees. But Saturday night into Sunday, you've got about a 60% chance of seeing measurable snow. And if the European model is right, we're not talking about a dusting. We're talking about potentially 4 to 8 inches. Raleigh, 22 degrees tomorrow. Greensboro, 18 degrees. Winston-Salem, 17 degrees. Durham, 21 degrees. Fayetteville, 24 degrees. Wilmington, on the coast, 28 degrees. Asheville up in the mountains, 14 degrees. South Carolina, you need to hear this too. Columbia, 21 degrees tomorrow. But this weekend, you could see snow. Charleston, 29 degrees tomorrow. But by Sunday morning with that next Arctic blast, you could drop into the low 20s. Greenville, 17 degrees tomorrow. Spartanburg, 16 degrees. Myrtle Beach, 31 degrees. Rock Hill, 19 degrees. And Greenville, Spartanburg, you're in the Piedmont region. If this storm tracks where the European model thinks it will, you could see significant accumulation Saturday night. Now here's where the model disagreement comes in, and this is critical. Right now, the GFS is showing the storm stays mostly offshore. Light snow for coastal areas, maybe some snow for the immediate coast of the Carolinas, Virginia, up into New England, but that's it. The European model, completely different story. It shows a much more powerful storm that tracks farther west and brings heavy snow from the interior Carolinas all the way up through Pennsylvania and into New York. That's the difference between 2 million people seeing snow versus 30 million people seeing snow. Which one is correct? We won't know for certain until tomorrow morning's model runs. But if we remember the last storm, the GFS was terrible. It was wrong about the track. It was wrong about the intensity. It was wrong about the snow totals. The European model was much closer to reality. So right now, I'm leaning toward the European solution. but things could still change. Check back tomorrow when we'll have much better data. Virginia, let's talk about your situation. Richmond, 23 degrees tomorrow. Norfolk, 28 degrees. Virginia Beach, 29 degrees. Roanoke, 17 degrees. Charlottesville, 19 degrees. Lynchburg, 18 degrees. And if this storm develops, you guys in central and western Virginia could see heavy snow Saturday night into Sunday. We're talking potentially 6 to 10 inches if the European model verifies. That's not guaranteed, but it's a strong possibility. Now let me shift gears and talk about the Mid-Atlantic because you guys are right on that critical line. Washington, D.C., 24 degrees tomorrow morning. Baltimore, 22 degrees. Annapolis, 24 degrees. If this storm tracks like the European model shows, you could see mostly snow Saturday night. If it tracks like the GFS shows, you get mostly rain or maybe a rain-snow mix. We're about 48 hours away from knowing which scenario is more likely. Delaware, you're in the same boat. Wilmington, 24 degrees tomorrow. Dover, 25 degrees. Rehoboth Beach, 28 degrees. You're right on that line where this could go either way. Maryland beyond Baltimore, let's break you down. Frederick, 18 degrees tomorrow. Hagerstown, 17 degrees. Ocean City, 30 degrees. Salisbury, 27 degrees. And Western Maryland, up in the mountains, you guys are going to see snow regardless of which model is right. The question is how much? Remember to drop your city below. I'm giving personalized forecasts in tomorrow's video. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're experiencing, what you're worried about, what questions you have. Pennsylvania, you just went through hell. Philadelphia, 23 degrees tomorrow. Pittsburgh, 14 degrees. Harrisburg, 19 degrees. Allentown, 18 degrees. Scranton, 16 degrees. Bethlehem, 18 degrees. Lancaster, 21 degrees. York, 20 degrees. Reading, 20 degrees. Erie, 9 degrees. State College, 16 degrees. You've got snow on the ground everywhere. Some places have over 2 feet. And now Erie, you're about to get hammered with lake effect snow. We're talking potentially another 12 to 18 inches over the next 3 days. New Jersey got hit hard too. Newark, 24 degrees tomorrow. Jersey City, 25 degrees. Patterson, 23 degrees. Trenton, 22 degrees. Atlantic City, 27 degrees. Elizabeth, 24 degrees. Camden, 23 degrees. And northern New Jersey, some of you picked up over 20 inches of snow from this last storm. That's incredible for that region. New York, let me break down your situation. New York City, 26 degrees tomorrow morning. The 5 boroughs all saw significant snow. Not the 2 to 3 feet we saw in some areas, but significant nonetheless. Buffalo, 8 degrees tomorrow, and you're about to get destroyed by lake effect snow. Rochester, 9 degrees, same story. Syracuse, 10 degrees, you're in the bullseye. Albany, 12 degrees. Yonkers, 25 degrees. White Plains, 24 degrees. Poughkeepsie, 20 degrees. And here's what you need to understand about this lake effect event. This isn't a one-day thing. This is going to be relentless. Band after band of heavy snow coming off Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Buffalo, you could see 12 to 18 inches over the next 72 hours. Rochester, 8 to 14 inches. Syracuse, 10 to 16 inches. Watertown, you could see over 20 inches. This is the kind of event where you wake up, shovel, go back inside for a few hours, come back out, and there's 6 more inches. Connecticut saw impressive totals too. Hartford, 18 degrees tomorrow. New Haven, 22 degrees. Bridgeport, 24 degrees. Stamford, 25 degrees. Waterbury, 19 degrees. Norwalk, 24 degrees. Danbury, 20 degrees. And you guys could see more snow from these clipper systems moving through over the next few days. Massachusetts overperformed big time. Boston, 19 degrees tomorrow morning. Worcester, 15 degrees. Springfield, 16 degrees. Lowell, 18 degrees. Cambridge, 19 degrees. Quincy, 20 degrees. New Bedford, 23 degrees. Boston, we were forecasting potentially 2 feet of snow. You're right there. Some suburbs picked up over 24 inches. That's historic for Boston. Rhode Island, you're right there with Massachusetts. Providence, 21 degrees tomorrow. Warwick, 21 degrees. Cranston, 21 degrees. Pawtucket, 21 degrees. You guys got buried. Now let me talk about some of the smaller states that sometimes get forgotten. Vermont, you're freezing. Burlington, 8 degrees tomorrow. Montpelier, 6 degrees. Rutland, 7 degrees. New Hampshire, Portsmouth, 16 degrees. Manchester, 15 degrees. Nashua, 16 degrees. Concord, 12 degrees. Maine, Portland, 14 degrees. Bangor, 4 degrees. Augusta, 11 degrees. You guys are in the deep freeze. All right, let me jump to the Midwest because you're the source of all this misery. Chicago, 12 degrees tomorrow morning. That's cold even for Chicago. Milwaukee, 9 degrees. You're colder than Chicago. Detroit, 11 degrees. Cleveland, 13 degrees. Toledo, 12 degrees. Akron, 12 degrees. And unfortunately for you guys, this cold air just keeps pouring down from Canada. You're the highway. Indianapolis, 9 degrees tomorrow. That's dangerous. Cold for Indianapolis. Fort Wayne, 8 degrees. Evansville, 12 degrees. South Bend, 9 degrees. And Indiana, you're about to get hit with more snow too. Not as much as the lake effect areas, but these clipper systems are going to bring you a few inches here and there. Ohio, beyond Cleveland, let's talk. Columbus, 12 degrees tomorrow. Cincinnati, 8 degrees. Dayton, 10 degrees. Youngstown, 11 degrees. Canton, 11 degrees. And Cincinnati, 8 degrees. That's brutal for you guys. Michigan, you're in a tough spot. Grand Rapids, 9 degrees tomorrow, and you're about to get hammered with lake effect snow. Lansing, 9 degrees. Ann Arbor, 10 degrees. Flint, 9 degrees. Dearborn, 11 degrees. Warren, 11 degrees. Kalamazoo, 9 degrees. And the western side of the state, you're going to see heavy lake effect snow over and over again. Now, here's where I want to get a little technical because I think it helps to understand why this pattern is so stubborn. We have what meteorologists call an amplified pattern. That means the jet stream, instead of flowing relatively straight from west to east, has these huge north to south undulations. When you get an amplified pattern, it tends to lock in place. It doesn't want to budge. We've got a massive trough of low pressure over the eastern United States. That's why we're so cold. We've got a big ridge of high pressure over the western United States. That's why they're so warm. And this pattern can persist for weeks. Wisconsin, you're suffering. Milwaukee, we already talked about. Madison, 4 degrees tomorrow. Green Bay, 3 degrees. Kenosha, 8 degrees. Racine, 8 degrees. Appleton, 2 degrees. That's dangerous cold. Minnesota, you're in the worst of it. Minneapolis, -2 degrees tomorrow morning. St. Paul, -1. Duluth, -8. Rochester, -1. Bloomington, -2. This is where the polar vortex lobe is positioned. You're getting the full Arctic blast straight from the North Pole. Iowa is right there with you. Des Moines, 3 degrees tomorrow. Cedar Rapids, 1 degree. Davenport, 4 degrees. Sioux City, 0 degrees. Iowa City, 2 degrees. Ames, 1 degree. Waterloo, 0 degrees. This is life-threatening cold if you're caught outside without proper gear. Let me talk about the northern plains because this is the source region. Bismarck, North Dakota, -5 degrees tomorrow. Fargo, -3. Grand Forks, -6. Minot, -7. Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 1 degree. Rapid City, 15 degrees. You guys are warmer on the western side because of the mountains. Nebraska, you're cold too. Omaha, 7 degrees tomorrow. Lincoln, 8 degrees. Grand Island, 5 degrees. Bellevue, 7 degrees. North Platte, 9 degrees. Kansas, you're not escaping. Kansas City, 12 degrees tomorrow. Wichita, 16 degrees. Topeka, 13 degrees. Overland Park, 12 degrees. Olathe, 12 degrees. Lawrence, 11 degrees. Missouri is getting hit. St. Louis, 10 degrees tomorrow. Kansas City we already covered. Springfield, 14 degrees. Columbia, 11 degrees. Independence, 12 degrees. And St. Louis, 10 degrees. That's cold for you guys this early in the season. Now let me address something I'm seeing a lot of questions about on social media. People are asking if this cold is related to climate change. Look, I'm a meteorologist, not a climatologist. I can tell you about the weather patterns we're seeing right now. I can tell you about the polar vortex and the jet stream. But the bigger climate questions, those are above my pay grade. What I can tell you is that this is an extreme event. This is not normal. And whether it's part of a larger pattern or just a random occurrence, I don't know. What I do know is that it's happening, it's dangerous, and we need to take it seriously. Don't skip ahead because I'm about to show you the exact timing of when this next storm could hit, city by city. Georgia, let's talk about your weekend. Atlanta, 24 degrees tomorrow, but Sunday morning, you could drop into the upper teens. Savannah, 32 degrees tomorrow. Augusta, 26 degrees. Macon, 24 degrees. Columbus, Georgia, 23 degrees. Athens, 21 degrees. Sandy Springs, 24 degrees. And Atlanta, right now you've got about a 30% chance of seeing snow Saturday night into Sunday. That's not high, but it's not zero either. If this storm tracks just a little bit farther west than expected, you could see accumulation. Alabama, we talked about Birmingham. Montgomery, 22 degrees tomorrow. Huntsville, 15 degrees. Mobile, 18 degrees. Tuscaloosa, 19 degrees. Hoover, 18 degrees. And Huntsville, you're far enough north that your snow chances are higher. I'd put you around 40 to 50% right now. Florida, you're not getting out of this. Jacksonville, 30 degrees tomorrow. Tallahassee, 21 degrees. Orlando, 38 degrees. Tampa, 42 degrees. Miami, 52 degrees. But Sunday morning, Jacksonville could be in the low 20s. Orlando could be at or below freezing. Tampa, low 30s. St. Petersburg, low 30s. And Miami, even you could drop into the upper 40s. Fort Lauderdale, low 50s. West Palm Beach, low 50s. If you have tropical plants, you need to cover them. Now here's where the uncertainty really comes in. This next storm system, the one we're tracking for next weekend, it hasn't even formed yet. Right now, it's just a disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico. Over the next 48 hours, it's going to interact with that cold air we've been talking about. And depending on exactly how that interaction happens, we could see a major winter storm or we could see nothing. The European model is showing a powerful storm. Heavy snow from the Carolinas up through Pennsylvania and New York. We're talking potentially 6 to 12 inches for a lot of cities. The GFS is showing a weaker storm that stays mostly offshore. Light snow for coastal areas, but that's it. These are dramatically different scenarios. Which one is right? I could be wrong here, but I'm leaning toward the European model. And you know why? Track record. The Euro has been much more accurate with these types of setups. The GFS has been consistently too far east with storm tracks this winter. But we'll know more tomorrow morning when the overnight model runs come in. West Virginia got hit by this last storm too. Charleston, 18 degrees tomorrow. Huntington, 16 degrees. Morgantown, 15 degrees. Parkersburg, 16 degrees. And you guys could see more snow this weekend if this storm develops. Let me talk about the Great Lakes region and this lake effect snow because this is going to be significant. When you get Arctic air, this cold flowing over lakes that are still relatively warm, you get incredible snow production. We're talking about snow rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour at times. These aren't little flurries. These are heavy snow bands that set up and don't move. The areas that are going to get hit hardest are the typical lake effect zones. The south shore of Lake Erie, from Cleveland down to Erie, Pennsylvania. The east shore of Lake Ontario, from Watertown down to Syracuse. The east shore of Lake Michigan, from Muskegon down to South Haven. These areas could see a foot or more of additional snow over the next 3 to 4 days. Illinois. Let me give you more detail. Chicago, 12 degrees tomorrow. Aurora, 11 degrees. Naperville, 12 degrees. Joliet, 11 degrees. Rockford, 8 degrees. Peoria, 9 degrees. Springfield, 11 degrees. Champaign, 9 degrees. And unfortunately, this cold is going to stick around. We're not warming up anytime soon. Let me jump back to the south for a second because I want to make sure everyone understands the danger here. When we get cold like this in the south, people die. Not because the cold is colder than what they experience up north, but because the infrastructure isn't built for it. Homes aren't insulated the same way. People don't own heavy winter coats. Cities don't have the equipment to handle snow and ice. So a storm that might be manageable in Buffalo becomes a disaster in Birmingham. And right now, we have hundreds of thousands of people without power in single-digit and teen temperatures. That's a recipe for tragedy. If you know someone who's without power, please check on them. If you have space in your home and you have heat, consider opening your door to someone who doesn't. This is the part that honestly has me concerned. Not the snow totals, not the cold temperatures themselves, but the combination of extreme cold plus power outages plus infrastructure that isn't designed for this. That's dangerous. Almost there. And what I'm about to tell you about tomorrow's forecast is critical. The overnight models that just came in are showing something unexpected. Let me talk about the West Coast for a minute because you guys are living in a completely different world. Los Angeles, 76 degrees tomorrow. San Diego, 72 degrees. San Francisco, 62 degrees. San Jose, 64 degrees. Phoenix, 78 degrees. Tucson, 80 degrees. Las Vegas, 74 degrees. Reno, 54 degrees. You guys have this massive ridge of high pressure parked over you. And while it's bringing you beautiful weather, it's also part of what's keeping us so cold on the East Coast. The jet stream is forced to go way up and around this ridge, then it plunges way down into the eastern United States. That's why we have this extreme temperature gradient. Seattle, you're different. 48 degrees tomorrow with rain. Portland, 51 degrees with showers. Eugene, 50 degrees with rain. You guys are in the storm track, but they're warm Pacific storms. No snow for the lowlands. Let me give you the timeline for this next potential storm, because this is what everyone wants to know. Thursday, January 30th, we start to see a disturbance in the Gulf of Mexico. Some rain for Louisiana, southern Arkansas, southern Mississippi. Nothing significant yet. Friday, January 31st, this system starts to organize. We see rain spreading across the deep south. Some snow showers starting to develop in the Ohio Valley. Friday night into Saturday morning, February 1st, this is when things get interesting. The system starts to intensify as it moves up the coast. Heavy rain changes to heavy snow across the Carolinas. Snow begins in Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. Saturday afternoon and evening, the storm intensifies further. Heavy snow for the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Blizzard conditions possible for parts of the coastal areas. Sunday morning, February 2nd, the storm pulls away, but lake-effect snow continues across the Great Lakes. Brutal cold settles in behind the system. Now, this is all dependent on the storm actually developing like the models are showing. If the storm stays offshore like the GFS suggests, most of this doesn't happen. That's why you need to check back tomorrow. We'll have much better clarity then. Let me wrap this up with what you need to know right now. Tomorrow morning is going to be dangerously cold. Single digits across the Ohio Valley and northern plains. Teens across much of the south. This cold is going to persist through the weekend and into early next week. There is a potential significant winter storm developing for next weekend. The European model is showing a major event. The GFS is showing something much weaker. We'll know more tomorrow. Lake effect snow is going to be heavy and persistent for areas downwind of the Great Lakes. Some locations could see over 20 inches through this event. If you're in an area that lost power from the last storm, please have a backup plan. This cold is too dangerous to ride out without heat. Now things could still change. This storm is still 5 days away. That's an eternity in forecasting. Models will shift, tracks will change, but the pattern supports another storm. The cold air is going to be in place. The moisture is going to be available. The upper level setup looks favorable. This is real. Check back tomorrow morning because the overnight European model run is showing something that I didn't expect. The track has shifted slightly, and if this verifies, it changes everything for the mid-Atlantic region. I'm not going to speculate on exact snow totals until I see more consistency in the models, but let's just say some cities that thought they were going to miss this might be right in the bullseye. And some cities that thought they were going to get hammered might dodge the bullet. Don't forget to comment your location before you leave. I want to help you specifically. Whether you're in Baton Rouge trying to figure out if your pipes are going to freeze, or you're in Buffalo trying to figure out how much more snow you're going to get, I want to give you the information you need to prepare. Thank you for watching. Thank you for trusting me with this information. I know this has been a brutal week for so many people. Power outages, dangerous travel, freezing temperatures, but we're going to get through this. And I'm going to be here every single day giving you the best forecast I possibly can. Next video drops tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have new model data, updated snow probabilities, and I'm going to answer as many of your questions as I can. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't